Hello, guys and gals, me Mudahar, and you probably have heard E3 is dead. Now, for anybody who's been following E3, if you've been in like gaming beyond just playing a mobile title or like playing the odd like popular game here every once in a while, you probably know E3 as the most like known trade show when it comes to gaming. Back in 1995, E3 first stepped into the ring, and with a brief pause between 2019 and 2021 because of a pandemic, E3 basically happened almost every single year. And what E3 was an annual convention in Los Angeles where basically you would just have everybody from the gaming circle, whether you be a developer, whether you be a publisher, whether you be anybody, come in and basically hype up games, okay? So at the end of the day, E3 was basically just a great way to get a new reveal for a video game, and that's pretty much what it came down to. But if you've been following, E3 is basically dead. E3 was ran by the Entertainment Software Association, who basically announced that E3, 28 years after the first event took place, finally is dead. And that's all they pretty much had to say. It's like, listen guys, after more than 2 decades, each one bigger than the last, that's a little debatable, the time has come to say goodbye. Thank you for the memories. And again, there really are a lot of memories to discuss about E3 going away, and it actually saddens me personally, because for the longest time, I actually wanted to go to E3, especially with my friends Kyle, Imaru, Jordan, all these guys. I wanted to go with them to E3. I wanted to see, Entertainment Expo with them. And we actually talked about it. And to be honest with you, E3 is not that far away. Had I jumped onto a 5-hour flight and took maybe like a day or two off, I could have actually seen E3. It's kind of like, at one point, the mecca of like gaming YouTube or like just gaming in general. And one of the best comments that I've ever seen put about this is actually on Reddit, which explains it perfectly. One user writes, one of my bucket lists was to attend E3. Too bad. It being on your bucket list and you not having gone to this point might tell you why E3 is on the verge of collapse. And this is a post from 9 months ago, so these people had no idea that E3 was basically on its way out. One of the reasons for E3 basically falling apart is publishers really started dropping out. And to give you an idea, publishers like Ubisoft, which, typically have like an entire day at E3 where they showcase Just Dance and all their usual bullshit. But when you're talking about publishers like Nintendo, Xbox, and Sony, who weren't part of this year's E3, okay? Literally, they would not be part of E3 2023. So when you got Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony, remember, these are the 3 primary console manufacturers. We don't live in the days of the ColecoVision and the Intellivision and all that other shit. These are all the main console players basically out. So again, when you see all these publishers basically leave the mark, you can imagine that the entire event won't really have any leg to stand on. It used to be an event where basically a bunch of these organizations would come together to hype up their products, but nowadays E3 has basically been compartmentalized into their own specific brand. So Nintendo has their Nintendo Treehouse events, Sony has State of Play, Microsoft has their own reveals, and Ubisoft and all these organizations just feeling more comfortable releasing their reveals, whether it be at events like the Game Awards, which I guess is basically the only big player left, or maybe another trade event in another part of the world. Now, personally, I think E3 worked really well because back when gaming kind of started, a lot of these companies were basically centered in that California area. But of course, game development happens pretty much internationally. You've got tons of teams here, you've got tons of teams in Seattle, Vancouver, you've got teams here in Toronto, you've got teams out in New York, you got teams in London. It ain't all just about California anymore, buckos. You've got teams up in Texas and everything. All that shit aside, E3 definitely had some of its very cringy moments.
How are you doing, Naoki?
I'm very, very excited.
Come on, Scott, a little bit more to go.
Very, very express.
Dude, I never want to be the poor soul that has to go out of my way to test motion controls on a live stage. That, my friends, is a fate worse than hell. Speaking of motion controls, here's my favorite one back when they had Skyward Sword show up with the Wii Motion Plus.
Like we're having a little interference here.
誰かワイヤレスを使ってますか
Somebody out there using wireless? Anybody?
リハーサルではとても上手にできたんです。
Everything went really well in our rehearsals. You
Turn on flight mode, you idiots! You're ruining my reveal! See, it's stuff like that that always makes me laugh, and it's the only reason I kind of tuned into E3 to begin with. That's the shit that goes viral.
You can compete in the online leaderboards and battle with armies of the more than 1 million troops. 1 million troops. Wow.
Everyone do it with me.
Dude, he had to like DJ Khaled hype beast at 1 million troops. You know what's wild? I actually have a copy of that game. It's crazy. Look at this. Look at this. I actually had the game here. It's still like sealed. I bought it for like $5, 99 nights. And you know why I bought it? Because I saw this cringy reveal, and I'm like, I can't go wrong with $5. And is it actually like a? Let me get this fucking GameStop receipt. It's only on Xbox 360. No way. Look at how pristine this copy is. I might actually pop it into an Xbox 360, or I'll just put it into an emulator, to be honest. But yeah, that's crazy. I actually can't believe I had a copy of that still sitting untouched because of this reveal. That's how powerful E3 is. Now, the attendance numbers for E3 have never really been so spectacular, even according to like the overview, the wiki overview, which like for at least the cited events, when it first started were like 50,000 people, which is crazy good because that's like basically their debut show. And again, you know, that number did go up to like 60,000, 70,000. But of course, some years like, 2007, 2008, they had like 10,000 people there. Which again, this was just a limited event, it seemed. And of course, the more and more you went down, obviously the amount of people showing up never really went past. I mean, I don't think they ever broke like 100,000 people showing up to the LA Convention Center, where I think this was actually held for the most part. So again, that's just kind of what happened with E3, all right? Like a lot of publishers jumped on, and eventually they all just parted ways and started hosting their own events. Even things like recently with the GTA 6 trailer, that might have been shown on like an E3 show floor at one point. I still remember back in the day when Halo 3 was like dropped on E3 and it blew everyone's minds. But nowadays, dropping a trailer on the internet at your own discretion is just far easier than waiting for any trade event to show up. Even with something like the Game Awards, which does have surprisingly great viewership. I mean, obviously it's kind of a cornerstone of modern gaming award shows, but even then, most developers just feel comfortable showing a lot of their big budget titles on their own events, right? Like State of Play, like Nintendo Direct. I don't know why I say Treehouse. That's from like back in the 3DS days. And same with Xbox. But again, I'm gonna miss reveals like this. Some of my favorite reveals have been literally the crowd reactions to a lot of awesome events. Like this is one where Keanu Reeves had shown up at E3 2019. But again, other cool reveals were like Final Fantasy 15, where this drew such a crowd reaction because when when this Final Fantasy 7 remake dropped, they didn't even show the logo. We just literally heard snippets of the original soundtrack, and all you had to see was the Buster Sword and Barrett's gun, just to know that this was on its way. And this was a crazy reveal, probably my favorite moment.
There are now the beginnings of a stir. The reunion at hand may bring joy, it may bring fear, but let us embrace whatever it brings. For they are coming back. At last, the promise has been
I just kind of wish that I had taken time out of my life to go out to this event, because being part of these crowds and witnessing them on YouTube is an entirely different endeavor. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen, E3 has come to an end, and it's not really surprising. The event necessarily didn't have a lot of upkeep in terms of publishers and developers really showing up every year. And with, again, the coming of the internet, so to speak, a lot of these publishers and developers don't really have a goddamn reason to go out of their way to centralize into this one location anymore. It's just literally like a sign of the times, okay? We're moved to the digital internet age, and that's pretty much where things come down to. So honestly, E3 ending is a little bit bittersweet. At the end of the day, it's not a sign that the gaming industry is dead or anything. It's very much alive and healthy. It's just that with the day of the internet, with the digital age, and the fact that, we've got people literally looking at reveals on YouTube, Twitter, God knows what, TikTok, any social media platform, that's just where people release it, and especially if it's at your own pace. So yeah, E3 really isn't dead. It's just like split into like 6-7 different different events, which honestly, in my opinion, isn't all that bad. I love getting game reveals throughout the year anyways, so again, to have it all spaced out is, in my opinion, generally better. Do I miss this crowd reaction? Absolutely. Do I miss the fact that there's a human live component to it? Absolutely. That's in person, something you can hear. And do I have a personal regret about never attending E3? Yeah, it's dead, it's over, but ladies and gentlemen, as cringy as it was, there were definitely some fun reveals to be had. That said, though, this is me, Mutahar, and yeah, if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. I am out.